My name is David Daniel Ball, and these are the headlines for Monday, the 9th of February 2009. Rudd hits out at bushfire arsonists, calling it mass murder. Queen shocked and saddened by bushfires. Hell on Earth, Victorian bushfires claim more than 108 lives and over 750 homes. Police tampered with Lapthorne evidence, says father. Arson suspected in Victorian bushfires. Teen charged with starting bushfire. Tributes for newsman Naylor and his wife. And search resumes for 3 missing. In comments, National Disaster Fund needed now. At a time when fires and floods have brought tragedy to thousands of Australians, Alan Jones argues we must have an ongoing National Disaster Fund. The fire latest from Tim Blair. News to all of us, were you aware that President Obama installed a superstar-laden lineup? Green Fight 1, Dorney dancer Peter Garrett versus Australia Institute Gimpspeak leftoids Garrett. As part of our plan to stimulate the economy and support Australian jobs, the government is going to roll out Australia's largest insulation program, putting insulation about 2.7 million Australian homes, immediately providing a boost to the industry and, importantly, helping reduce greenhouse gas emissions by nearly 50 tonnes of carbon pollution by 2020. That's like taking 1 million cars off the road. The Australian Institute responds, the government's initiative to fund insulation for more than 2 million homes will not reduce Australians' carbon emissions. Green Fight 2, EnviroCrank Clive Hamilton versus dam-level predictorologist Tim Flannery. Hamilton, Flannery has been flip-flopping on solutions to climate change since the Weathermakers appeared in December 2005. Flannery has moved seamlessly from one technological enthusiasm to the next. In 2006, he lent his support to the development of nuclear power in Australia. Only nuclear power can save us, he declared, playing straight into the hands of Prime Minister Howard, who was happy to quote Flannery in support of his nuclear push that formed part of his climate denial strategy. But after criticism in 2007, Flannery changed his mind, giving a resounding no to nuclear power in Australia. No explanation seems to have been offered for the reversal. Flannery responds with renewed nuke enthusiasm. Scientist Tim Flannery has accused Australia of taking an immoral position by exporting polluting coal to India, but refusing to sell it uranium to help it establish a cleaner power generation industry. Package helps Rudd, if not the nation, by Andrew Bolt. Henry Ergus says there are 5 reasons why Kevin Rudd is wrong to plunge Australia's $35 billion in the red to fight off a recession. First, it is far from clear activist fiscal policy will be effective. Second, even if discretionary fiscal policy were effective, the proposed package appears to be too much, too soon. Were the economic outlook to worsen, what room for maneuver would be left? Third, even if the package did create jobs, many of these would merely be displaced for more productive activities. Fourth, when governments spend money on projects whose costs exceed their benefits, they make us poorer. The future tax burden associated with deficit spending is then all the more painful. And finally, the package lacks a credible strategy for returning to budget balance. Catastrophe. At least 108 people are now dead in our most deadly fires in recorded history. At least 650 homes have been razed and 3,733 people have registered with the Red Cross after evacuating their properties. New Guinea gloats. Sydney University academic Kirk Huffman recommends we learn economics from New Guinea. No yen now for big spending. So how did big government stimulus packages work in Japan? You'll have to click on the link for that. Update, a good line from Malcolm Turnbull. Imagine if 60 years ago Ben Chifley and Bob Menzies had sent everyone a cheque for £50 instead of building the Snowy Mountain scheme. Media, a bit hot. Surely the same can't be said to be true here. 54% of US voters say the news media make global warming appear worse than it really is. Only 21% say the media presents an accurate picture, according to a new Rasmussen Reports National Telephone survey. And preaching over the dead. At least 36 Victorians die in bushfires, and Bob Brown sees an opportunity to preach politics. Greens leader Bob Brown says bushfires like the ones raging across Victoria and New South Wales this weekend will be more frequent if climate change continues. Global warming is predicted to make this sort of event happen 25 to 50% more, he told Sky News. It is a sobering reminder of the need for this nation and the whole world to act and put at a priority our need to tackle climate change. It's not just this or that fact which makes these comments grossly inappropriate. The stimulus package for these times. Here is some free advice to Kevin Rudd that will be good for him and good for the country. That $42 billion package of yours that buys us pink bats, public housing, and a lot of other stuff that doesn't actually make us more productive, that hands out billions in free cash for people to spend on toys, pokies, and electronics. That package that the Liberals rightly say is too much for too little, and which they threaten to block. Prime Minister, announce that you've had a change of mind forced on you by this terrible tragedy in Victoria and the flood devastation in Queensland. You will now spend $1 billion of your package on rebuilding in Queensland. You will spend $2 billion more on restoring the devastated towns on Victoria. There'll be $1 billion on fire research and protection, another $1 billion on air conditioners for the pensioners whose lives were at risk in the heat wave. There will be $2 billion for new dam in Victoria to not just secure water supplies for a growing population or even climate change, but from a fire in existing catchment areas that could endanger water quality. You will invest another $2 billion on schemes to bring water from the flood-prone north to the south, if feasible. Another $5 billion for helping state power networks operate in high temperatures. I'm sure there's plenty more of the popular like you could add, such as communication systems so police and emergency workers can identify and contact the vulnerable in a crisis, and more firefighting equipment. Then announce a cut of, say, $10 billion to the rest of your package to answer criticism that it's far too much on a one-shot gamble. Believe me, you couldn't do better. Let's get that aid rolling to people who really need it right now.
There's nowhere in the world that I would rather be than with you, my love. And there's nowhere in the world that I would rather see than your smile, my love. For united we stand, divided we fall. And if our back should ever be against the wall, we'll be together